And now we come to my absolute favorite game on this list, Friday the 13th for NES, released in 1989. This game gets way too much undeserved hate. I'm not gonna lie, I completely understand it can be really confusing to pick it up and play without any context. But I used to love always just exploring around and getting spooked out when running into Jason before I even knew how to play the game. It doesn't help that the only in-game instructions both have a typo saying use the torch to light the fireplaces instead of use a lighter, but also not being really a main requirement of the game. You start by choosing one of 6 counselors: George, Mark, Paul, Laura, Debbie, or Chrissy. Each counselor has a different attributes, with walking speed, jumping, boat rowing speed, and how many enemies must be defeated before items will start to appear. Mark is the best character, with the strongest of all attributes, and Chrissy is the second best, but I usually choose Chrissy because Friday the 13th has to be a final girl. When you start playing, and after the misleading instructions, the first thing you gotta do is kill a certain number of enemies to make the first item, the lighter, appear. Once you have the lighter, you could try to light the fireplaces that are located in the large cabins, but you really don't need to. It only gives you a flashlight that you honestly don't even need. The 9 small cabins house the counselor characters and a random selection each game. When the Jason alarm goes off, it means Jason is attacking with a timer indicating if he is attacking the counselors or the kids. Entering a small cabin can let you select any character, so this is an easy way to switch to whichever counselor is being attacked. When you switch to a counselor being attacked, you can either try to find Jason in the cabin and fight him in there, or exit the cabin and fight him outside. But sometimes he will pop up, blocking the door to leave the cabin. Jason roams the map, entering every cabin and attacking any characters inside, and loops back around, stopping by the cabins on the lake, attacking the kids. Once you get the lighter, other items will start appearing in set locations by jumping, these being a knife weapon, a key used to unlock hidden cabins and rooms, and medicine that automatically refills part of your health if it runs out. After collecting a knife, then messages will start to appear in certain cabins, and the main one that you're looking for is located in the big cabin by the lake closest to the trail to the woods. There will be a note you can take that says go into the woods. You will need a key for the next part, but fortunately there is one located in the woods. Once in the woods, walk right to the first path above you. If you need a key, there is one a little further to the right. Go up the path and it will take you to a second layer of forest with another path going upwards. Go up the second path and it will take you to a hidden cabin in the woods that you will need a key to enter. Once inside, if you look around, you'll find another note that reads, "Fire will damage Jason the most." This note triggers a torch to spawn in the large cabin that the first note was located in. Sometimes, when exiting the cabin in the woods, an axe will spawn, which you can take and pass on to another character, or just ignore it if you're only caring about the torch. Once you have this weapon, you should be able to fight and beat Jason. There is a second way to get a torch on the first day, in case your character with it died, or maybe you jumped into a spawned knife and lost it. If a character has an axe and a key, you can enter the cave and go to the left, jumping over 2 gaps. Walk a little left of center on this platform and press up. This is the hidden cave room. If you lit all of the fireplaces, you would have spawned a flashlight that would have shown what was in the blackness of the cave, but if you know where the room is, you don't need it. You have to have a key to open the door. And surprise, it's Pamela's decapitated head, now reanimated and attacking. You can fight Pamela once each of the game's 3 days, and you get a different item. Usually on day 1, beating her would spawn an axe, but if you were lucky enough to get the axe spawn in the forest cabin and passed it off to another character, and you defeat Pamela with the axe, then a torch will spawn when you defeat her. Pamela is completely optional. You don't need to fight her at all to beat the game, but on the second day, beating her rewards a sweater that halves all damage, so it's usually worth facing her on the second day for such a good item. But once you have the torch, all it is a matter of finding Jason, fighting him enough to beat him. And if you can beat him all 3 days, with him getting faster each day, you win the game. Now, I know that was a lot to go over, but once you start playing the game with the understanding of the goal, it becomes easier to play, and ultimately extremely fun. There are so many ways to play, and every game is different. You could let Jason kill off all counselors except for one. You could play to try to keep everyone alive. You could even play with multiple people, trading off the controller once Jason attacks someone's character. The characters spawning in different cabins, and Jason taking different paths, also makes it a game that has a ton of replayability. So you know I'm gonna rate it a perfect 3 for the atmosphere. It's great, and even though the enemies only consist of zombies, birds, and dogs, 2 of which aren't spooky at all, the great music and actual kind of tense moments, not knowing where in a cabin Jason will pop up at, and not to mention Pamela's decapitated head, it definitely captures the feeling of a Friday the 13th movie. And for the gameplay, it also gets a 3. Like I tried to explain in this review, the only hate this game receives is from people who haven't taken the time to learn its quirky mechanics, but once you do, it is an incredibly enjoyable game that everyone who likes horror games or Friday the 13th movies needs to play. It's actually available on so many cheapo, bootleg, plug-and-play handhelds, there's no reason not to give it a play this Halloween. But wait, before we wrap this up, let's take a look at some ROM hacks. Friday the 13th Improved is a graphic update with new zombie sprites, accurate Jason colors, blood on the knife, and a rewrite of the intro text, now reading the correct "use a lighter to light the fireplaces." The game plays exactly the same, it's just a nice new coat of paint. Halloween, a hack from 2020, replaces Jason with the Shape and the counselors with Laurie. Most of the game stays the same, with a different color palette. Some meaty John Carpenter music, and different pixel art for Jason and Pamela. I like they used the clown mask in place of Pamela. The main difference being, since every character is Laurie, all 6 share the same items, making it a bit easier than the original game. Once you have a torch, they all have the torch. Each Laurie still retains the walking speed of the original characters though. Freddy vs. Jason, a ROM hack from 2014, sees you play as everyone's favorite wisecracking child killer Frederick Charles Krueger as he battles the undead Jason Voorhees, and an homage to the 2003 film. Like the Halloween game, there are 6 different Freddy characters, all sharing the same item pool. But you really don't need to worry about finding weapons in this game, because Freddy comes equipped with his glove, which is just the pitchfork, the second most powerful weapon in the original game. There are no kids this time. Although Jason will still attack the lake cabins, there is nothing in there for him to kill. But the enemies have been replaced by the counselors. So it's really funny watching them rise from the ground. All over the easiest of the hacks, with the shared characters and starting with the claw. Jason vs. Freddy. It's the same as Freddy vs. Jason, but with the roles reversed. Now you play as Jason, fighting the gloved sleep demon. Counselors still appear out of the ground, no kids in the lake cabin, but this time you start with a machete, so triggering the torch to spawn is still worth it as a weapon upgrade. Pamela has been replaced with a Freddy head, and the main sprite has been replaced with Freddy from the NES game in the overworld, but a custom Freddy sprite in the interior fights. All of the hacks just add variety to an already fun game, so check them out if you're looking for some spooky horror fun.